for Snyder out of the red corner, and he comes out punching. Knowing that you're fighting a Gracie guy, always good to get your strikes in early, because if it goes to the ground, they regularly have the advantage.
Yeah, and a little bit of gamesmanship there, and he's getting in Jerad Meyer's head, and a nice clinch there, showing the work that he did at Mike Miles' gym is Jerad Meyer. And he touched gloves, and immediately from the touch followed through and punched him. So I can understand why Jerad Meyer might be a little angry at Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder, of course, not the same Zack Snyder who makes all those good movies like 300. Yeah, 300. He's busy. That's why he's only 145 pounds.
Snyder has Meyer up against the cage again. Black trunks with red trim out of the blue corner for Meyer, and the camo and black for Snyder, and he's unloading up against the cage. But a big smile on Meyer's face as he breaks away. Eager to trade punches in his amateur debut is the 24-year-old Jerad Meyer.
Yeah, I think he needs to get that right leg kick going on, because Snyder's doing nothing to defend that position right now. And if Jerad Meyer is able to slip that right leg kick, I think he can land it for some significant damage, just based on their stances as they are.
Now almost with the back is Zack Snyder trying to secure that takedown. Meyer working the wrist control up against the cage. Again, no knees to the head of an opponent at all here under amateur rules in Calgary, so Meyer can afford to leave his face hanging out there, knowing that the knees can't come, and he can guard the midsection and is doing so.
Yeah, and if you look at the face of Jerad Meyer, he thinks those knees are landing awfully close to his groin, and that might be the case, but I don't think that they're right to the groin, which is why the referee didn't stop it. If you look, and he's possibly trying to go for a standing Kimura here as he's got that arm going, but he needs to get the other arm free. And Beauchamp is going to stop them and say, watch those knees.
I believe that knee did come to the groin. Beauchamp sending him. Yeah, timeout has been called. Gives a moment for Meyer to recover.
And yeah, for those of you watching at home who are like, I might try my first MMA match, Meyer is doing the classic mistake here. He got hit in the groinal lower abdominal region, and he is not taking time to recover properly. If you were at home and you were about to be in your MMA fight, you get 5 minutes to recover from being hit, and take your time. Take your time and make sure you're perfect. Because if you come in and try and get that momentum going, you're going to end up in trouble. And in trouble he is right now as Zack Snyder takes him down.
A nice takedown there from Snyder after an exchange of punches. Hauling Snyder back to the ground, though, as he tried to back off and getting on top now, Jerad Meyer. Meyer trying to work over the top. There's a line on potentially an arm in guillotine if he can get his head out. Get into a better advantage position, but it seems like he's trying to find himself inside control.
Yeah, and short time remaining here in the round, and a good posture position. He can't hit him in the face, but he can go for this arm bar, and he's got slipped now to a different kind of submission, trying to get anything he can as the arm bar slipped out, and that's the end of the first round.
Cage doors closed. This time they touch gloves with a little less immediate action. A nice front kick there from Meyer.
Absolutely, and Meyer's taking some big shots, but giving them right back. Taking a couple on the chin, but showing good chin here, especially since it's his first fight. And you know, how many times do you get punched in the face in your regular day before you're in a fight?
Oh, fortunately, never. Meyer trying to take this fight to the ground. Snyder briefly ended up on top, but Meyer pushing through now, has secured the takedown and has the full mount.
And there's two schools of thought here, and a nice switch there by Zack Snyder. And he's going to let him up there. I think he went to strike him in the head and pulled back. Still a little bit of a touch, but at this point, the referee did a great job there in not penalizing, because I don't think there was any intent behind that. I think that's just instinct more than anything else.
Well, when you get into training scenarios as well, you don't hold up from that punch. when you're working and doing some serious training. So adapting to the rules of the Calgary Commission, one of the things the amateurs need to do here, and able to do so successfully. And again, the intention wasn't there to do that kind of damage, but stopping the action, Brian Beauchamp up against the cage, and they will reset them here at the center of the cage with a minute and a half left in round number 2.
Some pretty good takedown and some excellent defense. If you look at the right hand of Jerad Meyer, he's keeping that glued to his chin, and every single time Zach Snyder comes with a left, he's hitting that hand with that high hand. That time there, he kept the hand down, and he paid for it with a nice straight shot right to the face.
Solid striking here from Snyder, but a nice takedown again from Meyer, again moving into the mount. Now, the last time he got too high, found himself swept. We'll see if he's able to isolate a limb from this position and find himself a submission victory, something the Gracie boys do very well here in the Hard Knocks Fighting Championship.
Well, and he is really high, but that's where he wants to get set up to do an armbar or perhaps a top triangle, which is what he's attempting now, and he's got it sunk in, and this is not good for Zach Snyder. As he gets this in tight, he's going to convert to an armbar to try and do an extra damage. Not very tight on the legs, but you don't necessarily have to be tight. Good defense by Zach Snyder as he's keeping his head up.
Snyder doing a good job of rolling out of that triangle and really preventing the damage, but it's locked in a little tighter now from Meyer as he's trying to find himself a submission victory here. Action right up against the cage as Snyder tries to get away from Meyer. Just 10 seconds left of flipping it into an arm bar, giving up on the triangle, but not having the torque is right now from Jerad Meyer, and Zach Snyder gets out of round number 2. Brian Beauchamp starts the action. Round number 3, and again starts with the big front kick there and a low blow coming to Snyder, and we will see if he takes advantage of the time he's given to recover. Again, up to 5 full minutes, able to stop the clock and recover from that. Not an easy thing to do, even in 5 minutes, when it's as direct a kick as that was.
Yeah, that caught him right in the I don't want you to be a parent button.
Cup.
Yeah, right in the cup. But again, he's getting right back in. If you look at instances in MMA all across, doesn't matter what promotion, you see times where there's accidental illegal blows, and then the fighter that doesn't get that blow the other fighter ends up coming out really, really hard and taking advantage of that weakened fighter. So coming back already is Zach Snyder, and as we go back to them here, hopefully that's not going to affect him here and we get a good end to this round.
Meyer coming in with more strikes and a big knee to the midsection. Snyder throws him up against the cage though and has him up there, and maybe will try and throw some knees of his own.
Back goes Jerad Meyer. Now he's going to throw his knees. Again, he worked with Mike Miles kickboxing, so you can guarantee that those knees are good. And I bet his shins took a beating too. I've been to a Mike Miles training camp, and I don't think my shins have been the same ever since.
Well, identifying what was possibly a hole in his game in his stand-up and working with one of the best in the world when it comes to kickboxing at the Mike Miles camp, and now finds himself in a dominant position here. And again, that big knee to the ribs there, and that cannot feel good. We've seen elite level fighters stopped with knees to the ribs, including Matt Serra losing to George St. Pierre due to knees to the ribs, and some big ones being thrown there and continuing to be thrown by Jerad Meyer, trying to soften him up, and now works himself into the full mount. We'll see if he can convert that into a submission.
It's all about leaving an impression in the judges' minds, and a sequence like that leaves an impression in the judges' minds, and that's a very important thing for a fighter, especially with the short rounds. You can't fall behind for 2 minutes in a round and expect to be able to come back and win the round with 1 minute to go. Very rare instances that happens, whereas 2 minutes goes by in a 5-minute round and you can dominate the last half, and you put that impression in the judges' scorecards. I don't think that there's going to be any risk taken here by Jerad Meyer. I think he thinks he's in a comfortable position. He does have his back now trying for a submission.
Yeah, Snyder tried to roll out of it and may have been a bad choice as he now finds himself in a pretty nasty armbar situation, stomping on the elbow as Jerad Meyer. If there's one thing we've seen from the Gracie boys, it's a pretty slick armbar, and you saw him trying to do that but was unable to finish, and maybe has a triangle now. Very solid jiu-jitsu on the ground here from Jerad Meyer.
Yeah, Jerad Meyer's going to try to extend that arm. He doesn't have the neck the right way to create the right pressure at this moment, but every time he turns his hips, and now he's in a really good, solid position, and Zach Snyder is in trouble here.
Snyder locked into a triangle. Meyer pushing the head down, torquing the hips, doing it exactly the way you need to do it. Might not have Snyder in exactly the right position with 10 seconds left. Every round has ended with a submission attempt that Snyder has survived, and it looks like he will do it again here. He does survive 3 rounds in the books as Zach Snyder and Jerad Meyer will await the judge's decision on what could be a very close fight.